Google has its identity rooted in its motto, don't be evil. But Google has been up to some really evil things lately. They really should pick up their new identity, the Good Censor. This should be alarming to anybody who cares about freedom of information, democracy, or free elections. So, what is the Good Censor? This is the title of a leaked 85-page document to Breitbart News. This is Google explaining to us why they are pivoting away from free speech online and towards more moderated content and more censored content. Google blames this shift on poor user behavior. Troll farms, cyberbullying, racist bullying. These are all problems, but Google also cites less drastic concerns like people expressing their feelings online, or just angry comments, people venting. And supposedly all of these things erode the idea of a free internet, which Google says is a utopian vision. So Google thinks that free speech values are just a utopian dream. They also question the value of a free and open internet in the first place. Quote, users are asking if the openness of the internet should be celebrated after all. Quote, free speech becomes a social, economic, and political weapon. In response to the leak, a Google source said that this should not be considered a company position, but instead should just be considered internal research. But we should still be worried. The contents of this briefing match what we've been seeing happening already. We have already seen many conservatives be banned on Google and especially on YouTube. They've been demonetized or restricted. None of this is new. Since Google fired James Damore for daring to suggest that there are biological gender differences, Google has been even more brazen. Leaked footage of Google employees and Google executives right after the election shows just how much they wanted to thwart the Trump administration and populism more generally. And this might explain some of Google's actions over the past year. And while many are quick to point out that Google is a private company and they could do whatever they want, this is still a threat to our idea of freedom of expression. But it gets worse. What is happening at Google should also worry anybody who's worried about election meddling. You may ask, well, what does Google have to do with election meddling? Well, Google is working on a censored search engine for China, codenamed Dragonfly, and it's been kept secret for a long time. Hundreds of Google employees have protested this project. You must understand, Google is not just a search engine. You can't just say, oh, we're just going to create a censored version. This is going to be better than nothing. No, they could track emails, they could track your search results, they could track your location, they can find out who you are talking to and why, and they could turn over all of this information to the Chinese government if the Chinese government forces them to. And they would censor content that is deemed sensitive by China's Communist Party. This new report shows a more than threefold increase in the number of censorship requests since 2016. We don't know from which government. And the question is why? Why is Google doing this? They're insanely profitable. They have insanely smart people working for them. They don't need to compromise their standards. They don't need to go into foreign markets. They don't need to do evil things. But they don't seem to care. What else are they willing to do? Are they willing to hurt a president who also happens to be hurting the Chinese economy right now? And also it's a president they happen not to like? After all, Google has already done this before. They've already had initiatives trying to get Latinos to vote because they assumed that they would vote for Hillary Clinton, and then they were surprised that so many Latinos dared vote for Donald Trump. Google is okay with this because Google is the Good Censor. At home and abroad, the Good Censor. Google knows best. That's how they're trying to spin it, right? Give me a break. They're willing to censor their search engine for China. They're willing to censor their search engine for the United States. Google has been largely left alone by the US and world governments. Google has been trusted with our information, not to censor search results. They are breaching that trust. When Facebook ran their little experiments on people's timelines, there was outrage. This is much bigger than that. We have definitive proof that Google is shirking its responsibility as the pipeline of information. We have a petition. Google should either be regulated as a utility, or they should tell us how they will address all of these concerns and tell us how they will win the trust of the public back.